this. So bear with it. Okay, so basic information, so threshold. So I'm not going to read the slides off to you, but ultimately this is the level or a limit at where you would make that referral into other services or seek some support. So it's important to know what support's out there, and it's important to know what thresholds we are all working towards. So Sheffield Safeguarding Partnership for the children have created a threshold document. Okay, it was launched on the 1st of November, and this is aimed to support you guys to be able to make those decisions and support families to get the right help at the right time and to feel confident in the decisions and the assessments that you are making. So let's have a quick peek. Oh. So the whole aim of the threshold of need document is these titles here. Okay, so to make sure that we are ensuring children and families are safe and nurtured, okay, that they're safe within their communities, that obviously for a health economy for yourselves in ensuring that we've got good health, but that does include emotional health as well. And that actually these children are in a position to be able to engage in education and activities and fulfill their lives. So it's absolutely important that we get this right as a whole. So ultimately, we need to make sure, and it is everybody's responsibility to make sure that the welfare, education and safety of children is paramount. So Sheffield, okay, so Sheffield, the threshold of need document, okay, like I just said, it's there to support practitioners. It has recently been launched, and it has been a multi-agency production. So we've all had sight of this. A number of people from primary care, from the acute sector, from different services across Sheffield have worked towards getting this multi-agency document. So it is used as a holistic assessment. Okay, so you guys need to be able to access that and need to be able to understand what's in there and some of the tools that are used in and amongst it, because it's not a lengthy document. It's there as a guide. It's a tool, but utilising other things as we're going along. So the whole threshold of need document is based on the signs of safety framework. Okay, so we're looking at things like, what is the harm? What are the worries? Are there any complicating factors? Is there any strengths in and amongst? We're obviously got concerns, but what is going well? What has got these children to the point where they're at right now? What safety features are there? What can we introduce? What next? Okay, or what are we asking? What are we asking for? Who are we asking? And what do actually the family want? Okay, so the family and children, ultimately the child is paramount. However, we do need to look at the family as a whole. We need that whole holistic assessment. So what the threshold of need have done, what the partnership have done is put it in this continuum. Okay, so we've gone in Sheffield from a 5-tier to a 4-tier. So this is the most simplistic view. So we've got obviously a universal, and I'm going to go through these in different steps, and it can go up and down. So we can go from level 1, which is universal needs, right up to statutory and complex needs if there's a concern that arises. Or we could go back and we just need a little bit of support. So it is definitely a windscreen of being able to access services, and it's not that you are stuck in one. You can move along the continuum. So we look at each level in a little bit of detail. So level 1, now called, which we would all know as universal services. So you guys as primary care would be classed as those universal services. So this is healthy children, normal children, living their day-to-day life without any additional support from anybody else. So that would be yourselves, health visitors, it might be early years settings, nurseries, schools, etc., clubs. So just children that are happily plodding along through life, no real need for any other services. So this for you guys, if I try and put it into a reality for a bit of a scenario for you, this might be a mum that comes to you because she's got a little bit of concerns about her newborn and the weight. So it's a universal services, would probably signpost them off to the health visitors, but ultimately it's no real concern. Concerns then raise a little bit. So for level 2, so this is now called getting help. Okay, so it's early support. Okay, As you can see in the first column there, it's a couple of services working together to meet the needs of the child, okay? So the child or the family have got some needs that are just a little bit more than what you would be expecting as a universal family, okay? So they might need a bit of support for a short period of time, just to kind of put some concerns to bed or make sure that they've got support. They might be struggling with a little bit of financial difficulty, and in which case you might be able to signpost them to Citizens Advice. And this is aimed at everybody, so it's not just you guys in primary care. So my best example might be that actually we've got a mum that may be struggling with breastfeeding. Okay, she's a bit anxious about the weight of the baby, and we've got a couple of anxieties that kind of might need a little bit of support from other services, which might be family centres, health visitors, that additional support that is a little bit above the universal services. And I have put links in there for different options for you guys. So the Sheffield Directory is a directory across Sheffield that gives you all sorts of different services. So if you're not sure of what service is out there, the Sheffield Directory is there, and you can all actually input into this Sheffield Directory. So if there is a service and you've got information, you can contact them, and that can be updated into the Sheffield Directory. And of course, the more people and the more up to date it is, the better it is for use for everybody. So level 3, so we're going up, okay? So we're in the orange section now. So level 3 is targeted support. So we're looking at what is early help, okay? So we're looking at early help assessments. We're looking at agencies. We're looking at agencies working together. We might well require an early help assessment, in which case you would go to the partnership to link onto the early help assessment form. But we've got some concerns for these family. This is not going to, the concerns that we've got are not going to be met with the family alone. It's not going to be met with a 10-minute appointment in the GP surgery. So actually, ultimately, we do need some support for these families. And it might be that actually there is a key worker identified within this family, and that key worker could be anybody. It's the person that tends to have the biggest link or the best relationship with that family to be able to navigate around all these systems and services that are available to these children. Okay, so it might be, for example, it could be a family where there's some mental health concerns, but it's managed, and we might be having a little bit of a period of time where we've got a bit of instability. Financial concerns, we might need a little bit of support there. We may have a little bit of behaviour problems because we've got a mental health kind of issue going on, and of course we might need some boundary support. So again, we're looking at that early help. Okay, we're not at statutory services. We do still, as with the green and the yellow and the orange, there is still consent required for all of these, because ultimately we need the family to be able to work with services, and consent is the main key to that. So if we can sell these services to these families, and they want to work with services to get things into a better position, actually they're more likely to improve things, and we're more likely to have sustained changes, which then improves the whole picture for all the children and reduces the fact that actually there may be a need for statutory services later down the line if we can get this right. Ultimately, what we want is more children in the early help services than we do in the statutory services, because it's much easier to manage when we're looking at early help. And as you guys know, it's the preventative rather than the cure. So that's what we're looking at with the first 3 levels. Okay. However, we all know that things go wrong. Okay, there are instances where we've got concern. Okay, and then we're now into level 4. So we're in the statutory or complex needs. Okay, so this is where there is a significant concern. So we've got a concern that there is likely to be harm, or we know that there has been significant harm, and that's how that would differentiate between section 17 and section 47. So child in need or child protection. So for these cases, we still do require consent. Okay, however, we're now looking at the level where actually the needs of these children outweigh the requirements of the family and the parents, but we still want parents to work with practitioners. Okay, so it might be that we've got significant concern, okay, and we inform the family, I am particularly worried about your child. I am going to refer on to children's social care because they can help you support getting out of whatever kind of predicament, whatever's happened. Or it might be that we've got an injury to a small child, that actually the mechanism of injury doesn't match what the parents are telling you. So we've got these concerns. Ultimately, this is level 4. Okay, so we are looking at children's social care at this point. Okay, we do need to be making referrals into children's social care, and at this point in time, that referral is on via the telephone to children's social care and via a MAF. All of the links will be on the next couple of screens. But at level 4, we are worried. Okay, so a referral does need to be made, and if you've got that level of concern, that referral does need to be made as soon as possible. It can't wait till the next day, or it can't wait till next week when you've got an admin day. It is ultimately, you should really be doing this at that time. Now, although I have said about consent, and consent is obviously it's very, very important, there are points when actually consent can be overridden because obviously the parents disagree with you, but you've still got those concerns. That's absolutely fine. But there are points when actually seek consent might put that child at further risk. And those kind of examples would be sexual abuse, or if you're worried about perplexing symptoms or fabricated or induced illness. So in those kind of scenarios, it is advised that you wouldn't seek consent, you wouldn't be informing the parents. Actually, you would go on and do that, but you would then be informing children's social care that you haven't sought consent because of X, Y, and Z. I know a lot of people worry about relationships and obviously professional relationships and around that kind of consent. But ultimately, if we've got a concern around a family and we make that referral and we inform the parents that we're making that referral, they may well not come back to you as a GP or as a practitioner. However, they will find another practitioner. So don't worry too much about that professional relationship. Ultimately, the child must come first. So in the document, okay, the document is split into separate categories, okay, so it should hopefully make it easy. And I'm just going to come out of my PowerPoint and show you the actual the threshold of need document that is on the website. So as you can see here, child vulnerability, so that's one of the categories, and it lists different scenarios that would sit under different levels. Okay, so you've got your green level, so acquiring a range of skills and interests, completely normal, universal activities. And it might be that there's a delay. That might sneak you into the yellow section, so getting that help. And it might just be that delay is a referral onto the paediatricians. But actually, we might be worried that actually that significant delay could well be to do with parenting. It could well be to do with socialising. It could be to do with mental health. And it might be that we need targeted support. It could be that there's a significant concern and that actually this child is possibly in a family where there's domestic abuse, and actually this child is running on adrenaline constantly and can't reach its milestones because it's so stuck in flight or fight all the time. So that's just one example. So I'm just going to pop back into this. So there are a number of categories, and this is meant to make it a little bit easier. They pop the categories in different tables so that you can go to that table and think, I'm worried about emotional abuse on this child. I'll go to this table and these are where the levels are. So hopefully it should be a little bit easier for you to be able to navigate through the document. So literally a quick whistle stop. Okay, so level 1, that green level. So these are children and young people that are largely experiencing normal outcomes. We're not particularly worried about them, that we would anticipate that they would achieve. Level 2 is the yellow section, sorry, so that early support. So there is some emerging needs, there's something going on, and actually a couple of services and with a short period of time of support may well absolutely be enough. Level 3, we're a little bit more worried now. Okay, so these children and families have got a bit more of complex needs. They might need a couple of different targeted services. There is support required, and without that support, we are expecting that this is going to affect these children. Okay, so that is targeted support at level 3. And level 4 is that statutory and complex needs. So this is where we're looking at significant harm or harm. This child is likely to be subjected to harm. That level of harm will dictate where you go first. If we are significantly concerned, it may well be that you contact the police and then you contact children's social care and you go from there. But it might be that actually we're worried about an injury and we make a referral, we inform families, make a referral, and we send them on to ED at the children's hospital. It might be a number of different things, but ultimately level 4 is our significant harm. So again, I think professional curiosity is clearly going to be a common theme throughout the entire day. But if you don't ask that question, you're never going to know. And that's the reality. So professional curiosity for me is having that holistic view, making sure that you explore what's going on and you understand what that looks like. So if the injury does appear, how did it happen? Does it make sense? Think outside the box and think about the unthinkable, which is not where we tend to go. We tend to be professionally optimistic. Ask direct questions, listen, look at the child, speak to the child, check out what's been said, make sure that there are, it does make sense and that it does match what's being said. Once you've got and you're using your professional curiosity, you're then able to fully assess and make that risk assessment on where you think this child sits on that continuum of need. This will be available to you at the end of the day, but this just gives you a quick explanation on where you make your referrals to. So that's for both children and adults. So obviously, when we are looking at some of the adult concerns, so we've got a mum or a dad coming in reporting domestic abuse, we are thinking about the children in the background, but we do have to address the safeguarding for both adults and children. So we've given you both options in that slide. And it just leads me to tell you to offer any thoughts or questions, which you can obviously pop in the chat unless you want to speak now. But also there is further training on learning from a rapid review on the 5th of December. So if anybody does want, that's the 2 children at Hillsborough Park, where knife crime, serious youth violence. So that is the next serious child practice review that the Sheffield Safeguarding Partnership are presenting. So that's the 5th of December.